Alright, let's do this. Time to feed these AMD fans. Gotta get this. Okay, there was something. Gotta feed these AMD fans, boy. Gotta do that. Okay, where was the article? Let's see here. Take care of these AMD fans. Oh, here we go. Alright, let's do it. So, let's see. Hello, people. Another beautiful day. Yeah. Hope your 5 senses work. Health and strength is good. Or excellent. Alright. So, let's see. We got 3 articles here. One from NeoWin.net, one from Gaming on Linux, and one from Video Cards. Talking about the Razen 9000 series. So, let's see. Let me do probably one on Video Card. I'm gonna leave the other articles in the description. Actually, let's see. NeoWin. Let's see. Nope, that's Intel. Okay. Okay, here we go. Let me do the one on NeoWin, but everything else I'm gonna leave in the description box. Okay, let's see here. Says here, AMD reveals Ryzen 9000 price chips coming. Got 28 comments here. On Video Cards, it's like Video Cards got how many comments? Let's see here. What are we talking about? Okay, Video Cards got 157. Yeah, these AMD fans, boy, they love their CPUs. Oh yeah. All right, I got you guys covered. Let's do this. It says here, AMD reveals Ryzen 9000 price chips coming August 8th, and has 28 comments, but I will get to it. It says here, following a brief delay in the launch of the Ryzen 9000 processor family, AMD is finally ready to reveal how much it will ask for a privilege of owning the latest generation AMD processor. The Ryzen 9000 series is coming on August 8th in the form of 2 models, and 2 more will follow shortly on August 15th. The Ryzen 7 9700X and the Ryzen 5 9600X will launch first. The 9700X costs $359, while the 9600X costs $279. The beefier Ryzen 9 9950X and 9900X will be available on August 15th. It will cost $649 and $449 respectively. Then it says here, here is the entire Ryzen 9000 lineup AMD is launching this month. And then AMD Ryzen socket cores max clock cache TDP price. AMD Ryzen 9950X AM5 16 cores 32 threads 5.7 gigahertz 80 megabytes 170 W that's TDP cost $649. AMD Ryzen 9900X 12 cores 24 threads 5.6 gigahertz 76 megabytes 120 $499. AMD Ryzen 9700X 8 cores 16 threads 5.5 gigahertz 40 megabytes 65 watts $359. AMD Ryzen 9600X 6 cores 12 threads 5.4 gigahertz 38 megabytes 65 watts $279. It's worth noting that the Ryzen 9000 series launch at a lower price than the 7000 series. The new Ryzen 9 model are $50 cheaper than their 7000 series counterparts, while the Ryzen 9 9700X is $40 cheaper, and the Ryzen 9 5 9600X is $20 cheaper. Some suggest that it is because the 9700X cannot beat the gaming performance of the Ryzen 7 7800X 3D. It says AMD initially planned to launch the Ryzen 9000 series on July 31st. However, the company delayed its latest processor, alleged due to a typo on the IHS integrated heatsink speed reader. No, integrated heat spreader. Says here, of certain models, There are several posts with image of the Ryzen 7 9700X and the Ryzen 5 9600X labeled as Ryzen 9 models, but AMD never revealed what was the true reason behind the delay. Luckily, it was not too long, and the company is making up for that with better price. Hey, see? AMD got you covered, man. You guys are tripping. Anyway, okay, on the comment section, what do we got? What do we got on the comment section? Talk to me, what you got? Okay, what you got? Ooh, they sounding off up in there, boy. Let's see here. Dusto said this. Still the same core count after 7 years? Come on. And then the Crip said this. I get it. But at the same time, CPU have been more fast enough for many years. And then it says my main PC 12-year-old i5-3550 is still pretty good consider its age for many tasks. So getting more and more cores begins to be a little overkill after a certain point for the vast majority of people. And then it said, like off the top of my head, beyond 8 cores seems like major overkill for the foreseeable future for the vast majority of people. Personally, I am not a fan of paying more than around 200 tops for a CPU. So even the lowest of these CPU in the topic is a bit steep. As for one, as one up from that is pushing, it's really hard. And beyond that, it's a flat-out waste of money for the vast majority of people. As for 500 and 650 range, you could build a good portion of a computer, etc. So in the end, I would probably look into slightly older, more tested CPU, so system reliability is more assured, that are probably not much slower, but quite a bit less, makes more sense overall. And then, let's see, Hugh said this. Pointless adding them for most people, just for extra expense. Power draws heat and lower yield. People don't buy higher core chips. Now they get lower core ones for gaming. Those who want more cores have plenty of options with Threadripper server chips. And then Dusto said this. You know, Intel made the same argument for a much less, and we laughed at them, right? 4 cores is enough, from 2500K to 7700K, question mark. And then the Crip said this. Man, this one is long. He said, while I do think eventually stuff will start really need more than 4 cores, etc. etc. Currently, I can't see vast majority of tasks needing more than 6 to 8 cores TOP at least for the foreseeable future. So while I am not against more cores, as those can really ramp up performance if a particular task loads them up heavily. I think my general comment here is pretty good ballpark for foreseeable future. Basically 8 cores tends to be good enough for the vast majority of people tasking, especially when you start looking at a bang for the buck and costs of CPU, etc. But my general point is even CPU from around the age of mines, which are 4 cores, are far from slow even today, and will be sufficient for many people and many tasks. But even the core count stuff aside, I realize stuff gets a bit faster as time passes. Likely, like a bit from each generation, eventually it will start to add up. So there will be a legitimate improvement from say mines to something semi-recent, but I suspect for many use there won't be a large enough difference to really matter. Like even right now, if I had a fairly recent pretty good desktop computer, I would expect to feel some difference in overall system snappiness, but probably not a large enough difference to consider it a must-have. My current CPU, etc., at least for general day-to-day use, even though I am gaming, performance would obviously be better. And then he said, he sound off in this one, man. Let's see, but anyway, let me see if I get another one here. where is he? He says, he says, like say on gaming, there will be a difference in some situation. For sure, I realize my CPU will be the bottleneck on more modern GPUs. I think my CPU or so can handle roughly around GeForce 1060 GPUs or thereabout before the CPU will start to become a bottleneck. What I heard, I got an NVIDIA 1050 Ti 4GB, so this will generally be my bottleneck currently, and not the CPU. But as a ballpark, I would guess beyond 4 to 6 core, its most situation currently tend to be demising return. But we shall see how things play out. Many eventually start advancing faster than we think, but maybe not. But for the most part, when it comes to CPU processing power, CPU have been a pretty good point for many years. Now as CPU lasts longer than they once did before truly becoming outdated, too slow. And then he says, P.S. Currently is the longest I owned a primary PC at 12 years and 3 months, and continuing. Then he says, my basic motherboard I had since May 2012, whereas previous high was my previous PC at 6 years and 2 months, March 2006 until May 2012. You can see a person generally hangs on to desktop PCs for much longer than they once could. Granted, I get if someone wants a bit more frame rate in games than myself, i5 3500 NVIDIA 1050 Ti 4GB, they would need to upgrade. I always use the 30 frames playable 60 FPS pretty much perfect as a general rule. But when some people upgrade it, it's pretty much a waste of money given their current setup is still pretty good. Like say something built in the last 3 years or so, and that only gets mostly, if not largely negligible upgrade for a decent amount of money, which in the real world is mostly a waste of money, as the performance increase is not enough real world noticeable performance gains where it matters to justify moderate amount of money spent. To state the obvious, I am obviously not faulting someone who wants/needs a better GPU than myself, as I get that a NVIDIA 1050 Ti 4GB is pretty much 8 years old, and even when I bought mine in July 2017 for $135, which was a good bang for the buck GPU then, while decent, was nothing special. I can especially understand with recent-ish games, it will easily to justify an upgrade. Well, yeah, these people are sounding off in the comment section. Anyway, okay, that was the biggest comment. And now for the smaller ones. George P said this: there's an argument to be made that you can add more cores, but they don't all have to be fully performance core. As much flack as Intel is getting right now, their hybrid core design is the right one. You can up the core count without getting a bit too power thermal and keep yield at good levels, since the lower end EL and cores are easier to make. So while for now 8 full performance cores might be enough, that doesn't mean we need to stick to those for every simple task most people are doing. Why not give me a CPU with 8 performance cores and 4 to 8 E cores for 12 to 16 core tops, and then turn the more power hungry cores off when I don't need them. And then Super said this, T Super said this: just because you don't have high computing needs doesn't mean someone else out there doesn't, whether personal or for work. And Sledge said this: I'm running a 4 video memory daily along with various Dockers instance on a 5950X with 128 gigabytes of RAM, and 16 to 32 is a godsend in my life of work. And Becker said this: 5 years, not 7. 5 years, not 7. Ryzen 3000 saw a core count increase that will currently have the original Ryzen top out at 8 cores. I honestly don't see this as a problem. Most workload can only use so many cores. Working to make those cores faster adds a lot more meaningful performance than adding more cores. IMO 16 cores is already getting up into almost workstation territory. If you have a genuine need for more cores, then probably you'll need more memory channels to feed those cores. At that point, you'll need a true workstation platform. Granted, AMD hasn't been great about maintaining Threadripper line for DIY, but that is the correct decision if you need more cores. Yeah, I think it all comes down to choice though when it's all said and done, you know. These guys are just sounding off in the comment section. Yeah, but anyway, man, yeah, AMD for you, man. So the Ryzen 9000 series, it's here. So AMD is keeping up with the time and keeping up with the pace and the demands, you know, of technology, you know, because every year, you know, things change, you know, software changes, you know, yeah, so you gotta have the hardware to match it, you know. So we're in the world of tech, performance really matters, man. It really do, you know. If you're trying to get the very best, you know, if you're trying to get a decent and good enough performance, you know, performance matter, you know, and it gets, you know, it gets, you get to enjoy the games more, you know, better, you know, you get to do your work more efficient, yeah, so it does matter, man. So yeah, these people were just sounding off in the comment section. I could have sat there and read all 28, but I'm like, nah, I'm not going to take up too much time. But yeah, these CPUs that AMD have, they just give you choices, you know, and you know what you're getting when you purchase them, you know, and you know the limitations of them, you know, on how far they can go, you know, based on the usage and what you have it doing. So yeah, AMD for you, man. So the Ryzen 9000 series, they're here. So yeah, enjoy, folks, enjoy. Oh yeah, anyway, I'm gonna leave this video for y'all to enjoy though. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, still Star Wars, Star Trek, boring, dark side. Go.